Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are going to examine one of Lord of the Rings Online starter zones, Ered Luin. This is a level 1 to 15 zone where elves and dwarves begin their journey. We will briefly go over some of the lore of this region and then delve into the gameplay nature of this zone, examining the pros and cons of leveling here as a new character. Let's begin. Welcome to the far west of Middle-earth, where the legendary Blue Mountains, known as Ered Luin, hold secrets of ancient times, epic battles, and enduring legacies. Formed in the early days of Arda by the powerful Valar, the Blue Mountains once stood as an unbroken line, dividing Eriador and Beleriand. Their rugged peaks witnessed the rise of dwarven kingdoms, the flow of mystical rivers, and the struggles of the First Age. Beneath the mountain known as Mount Dulmed, two dwarven fathers awakened, founding the Firebeards and the Broadbeams. Their cities, Nogrod and Belagost, became thriving hubs of craftsmanship and innovation. On the western slopes of the Blue Mountains, rivers gave life to the land of Osiriand, later renamed Lindon by the Green Elves. Hunters roamed its forests, adding their tales to the mountain's lore. But even these mighty peaks were no match for the cataclysmic war of wrath. The mountains were shattered, and the sea tore through their southern end. Yet hope endured. Lindon became the last stronghold of the retreating elves. Though much was lost, dwarves carried on in the eastern ranges, and by the Third Age they rebuilt their lives. The Blue Mountains even provided refuge for Durin's folk after they were exiled from Erebor by Smaug. Under King Thrain II and his son Thorin, the dwarves thrived once more. From the awakening of dwarves to the legends of Lindon, the Blue Mountains have stood as silent witnesses to Middle-earth's history. Their legacy remains as timeless as the peaks themselves. Ered Luin has a long history, though not prominent nor prosperous in any way. Being just a remote mountain ridge, it did not attract much interest. This did not change when Thrain and his son Thorin Oakenshield arrived. Only iron could be mined there. Even so, the dwarves of the Blue Mountains remained in the region, side by side with elves, gathering wood used for their white ships and running famous vineyards long since. However, Thorin left Ered Luin, and together with a throng of dwarves, Gandalf, and a famous burglar, he tried to reclaim his father's lost treasures. Thorin completed his quest, but died. Nonetheless, in Lord of the Rings Online, he makes a dour hand the master of Thorin's Hall, and with that background, a new dwarf or elf character enters the starter area in Ered Luin. Let's briefly go over what the questing is like in Ered Luin. Dwarf characters will begin in the north, just south of Thorin's Hall. Here you can complete the first gear quest, which will unlock the ability to gain reputation with Thorin's Hall by collecting First Age relics. You will begin your journey among the snowy peaks of the Blue Mountains. You will face off against various goblin camps and Dourhand bandits, an evil dwarf clan who seek to supplant the Longbeard rule over the region. As an elf, you will begin your journey in the southern portion of the region known as Falathlorn. Here you get to quest through some gorgeous elf settlements such as Kelandim and Duiland, as well as explore some goblin and wolf-infested elf ruins. As you follow your quest path as a dwarf or elf, you will eventually converge on each other in the middle of the map where the dwarf settlement of Gondaman is located. An elf prince has been kidnapped by the evil Dourhand dwarves, so it is up to you as a dwarf to prove to the elves that you are not allied with the enemy by rescuing him. Or seek an alliance with the Longbeards as an elf by aiding in this quest. Let's now go over the pros and cons of questing in this zone. As any race, I tend to prefer questing in the Elven region over the Dwarven region. Despite this being a very old region of the game, I always enjoy the spring atmosphere that surrounds the quaint elven towns of Kelondim and Dwyland. The quests are very efficient to complete for a power leveler. It is a perfect zone to level in if you want to level as quickly as you can, and thus it is very alt-friendly. The hubs are all very close together, and the questing progression follows a very linear path from south to north. It's also quite easy to complete the questing meta deed for this region, and sends you to areas where completing beginner slayer deeds and exploration deeds will add to your virtue XP very quickly. The dwarf zone is a little less efficient, yet still provides a decent logical progression when questing. The major con of this zone lies in the fact that if you want to get into crafting, Tier 1 nodes are few and far between, which means you are going to want to travel to Breland or the Shire to farm things like copper, rowan branches, or if you are a scholar, Swanfleet, which has the largest amount of shattered pictures that drop aged scraps of text, an important ingredient for advancing your scholar crafting. A secondary con is that this region feels a lot less open world compared to most zones in Lotro. Now, I do think that as a starter zone, this could also be a pro. Things feel a lot more linear, and therefore it can kind of ease you into the wider scope of Lotro more gradually. However, it is also true that there are certain places that don't feel as if they aged well compared to other zones. This area used to be the only instanced region of the game, but with the introduction of Yondershire Zone to the east, it is now seamlessly connected with the rest of the world without the need of a loading screen. Overall, this is a solid starting experience for any Lotro character, and in my opinion, the most beginner-friendly zone in the game. Questing is efficient, and the player does not encounter as much tedium when questing compared to all of the other starter zones. Aesthetically, with the exception of the first two elven towns, the zone doesn't hold up as well graphically compared to other zones, but for utility and gameplay, it is probably my favorite starter zone to quest in. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree. I would love to hear your different opinions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.